Here we go. Chapter 2, making the most of your time. Difference between time and money. Some people say money is the most precious thing, but you can always make more money. You can't create more time. Once it is gone, it is gone. Okay, let's jump in. So, when you are finished going through this chapter, you will be able to explain why it is important to manage your time more efficiently and discuss techniques that can help you manage your time. I have mentioned this before in this course. It is critically important to be able to manage your time in order to be successful at college, in university, and in life in general. And you have to be able to handle competing priorities. Our lives are busy, we have a lot of demands. How do you sort out your priorities to ensure that the first things are done first? Estimate how much time various tasks will take you and create a timeline, and identify strategies for dealing with surprises and distractions that always come up. This is true. No one on the face of this earth, no matter how successful they are, has more than 24 hours in a day or 168 hours in a week. The key to being successful is how to manage these hours. Okay, here we are with the POWER acronym again. Prepare, learn where your time is going. This is the first thing. You need to know where your 168 hours a week are going. I'm sure all of you have been in a situation, and I have myself, where the week is over and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's Friday already. Where did the time go? Organize. Absolutely use a master calendar, a weekly timetable, and daily to-do list. Work, follow through with the schedules that you have made. It is no good creating a schedule if you're not going to follow it. And keep track of your short-term and long-term accomplishments in the evaluate stage. And finally, rethink, reflect on your personal style of time management and see where you can make improvements. So, start with prepare. Know how you are using your time and understand your priorities. Learn where your time is going. Here's a great way to do it. Creating a time log. So create a time log to show how you are spending your time throughout the day. Include interruptions. Track where the time is going. This is a good place to start. Just by being aware and conscious of where your time is going can help you create more efficiencies throughout your schedule. It is kind of like when you're trying to watch what you eat. And if all you're doing is eating everything that comes across your path and you're not being very conscious about what you're putting in your mouth, it is hard to know where you're screwing up. So some people will say, try to take a food log to try to figure out what food you're eating and maybe where you can improve a little bit there. How first-year students spend their time. This is great. Commuting to campus, 3 hours, 0.1. You can eliminate commuting, which is amazing. 13 hours preparing for class, 6 hours working outside, 12 hours socializing, 7 hours of co-curricular activities, and 2.4 hours in dependent care. I would love to survey you guys to see how much that would be different, because I assume that you aren't spending any time commuting, and you probably aren't spending 7 hours doing co-curricular activities or community service. I would love to know screen time, right? How many hours a week are we spending on the screens, not necessarily doing productive things? Handling competing priorities. This is a challenge for everyone. If you meet anyone who has ever said that they've mastered time management and they have no room to grow, they're a liar, because everyone has these competing priorities that are trying to eat away at our time. So Handling competing priorities. Determine the tasks and activities that you need and want to do first. Rank them in order. Most important first, least important last. And make sure your priorities are rooted in what you really value and your goals. So if you want to be successful at school and you want to do well, make sure that you've set goals about how much time you want to spend every week doing that, right? Based on your values. If you want to be in good shape, maybe you should set a goal of the amount of physical activity you want every day. And understand that this is where your priorities should lie. Identify priorities for the term, yes. Do this for the first maybe 7 weeks. Identify what you want to accomplish in the first 7 weeks. It doesn't have to be for the rest of your life. And set priorities according to the SMART approach, which we covered in chapter 1. Here's a sample list of priorities. Study for class at least 30 minutes a day. That's a high priority, right? Check with my mom once a week. Well, I don't know. Maybe that's a low priority on the other end. But what this is trying to demonstrate is that you should have a ranking order of priorities and do the first things first. Handling competing priorities. Number 2, recognize the difference between what is important and what is urgent. Important assignment is worth 25%, is due next week. Urgent is the quiz worth 2% by midnight. One is urgent and one is important. Is it important to do that assignment for next week? Absolutely. Is it urgent? Not really. Do you have to do that quiz worth 2% by midnight? Absolutely. But ultimately, is it really that important? No. Not every priority is as important as everyone else, and not every priority is equally urgent. The next step in the POWER acronym is be organized. You cannot organize everything in your head. You have to have some sort of physical tool to help you be organized, whether it is an app, electronic calendar, a written calendar, a poster, sticky notes, whatever it is, you should be physically organized. Use a master schedule, a weekly timetable, and a daily to-do list. You don't have to live like this for the rest of your life, but I promise you, if you develop the habits now and you do it over the next 14 weeks, life will be a lot easier. Show all the weeks of the term, including all assignments, tests, and activities. Identify bottlenecks in your schedule and allow for sufficient time. One of the compelling reasons why you should have a master calendar is because school ebbs and flows. There'll be weeks that are super busy and there'll be weeks that are relatively light. So what you want to do is, if you have other priorities, so for example, if you have a part-time job, during the weeks that you have a lot of assignments due and a lot of your grade is going to be assessed in a course or the courses, you want to make sure you have a lighter work schedule that week. But the opposite is also true. On weeks that you may not have as much work, feel free to work more at the job that you're being paid for, right? Like if you have a light week in terms of schoolwork, maybe you can pick up more part-time work. Here's a couple samples of master schedules, nothing complicated. A weekly timetable is also critical, includes all the days of the week at the top, includes the class, the hours of work, as well as activities and appointments, and allows you to schedule study time ahead so that you can determine when and how long to prepare for tests, right? So if you have a test in week 4, you're going to make sure that in week 3, you've set aside hours written down in your weekly schedule of when you are going to study. Here's an example of a weekly schedule, nicely color-coded with all the courses and what they have to do and when it's due. Oh, they're going to Ottawa on Saturday. Isn't that nice? Trip to Ottawa, 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. A portable to-do list is always great because it includes what you need to do during the day. You can add a couple should-dos, such as maybe texting a fellow student about a quiz, but definitely include the must-dos. Add lower priority items such as doing laundry at the end, and draft each list at the end of the day for the next day. Yeah, that's great. You go to bed, okay, wake up, this is what I got to do. There's no waking up thinking, oh, I don't have class today. What should I do? Right? You have a schedule ahead of time. Here's a sample of a daily to-do list. As you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Mom, call mom again. That's nice. It's moved up from low to medium. So nice, right? Like in another list, we saw the call mom as a low priority. Medium is kind of where I think mom should be. And then do some research about Ottawa, because on a weekend, you're going to Ottawa, but that's a lower priority. Because let's face it, if your friend's driving, you can scroll on your phone and look up what you need to do before you get there. Although you may want to book a restaurant because, listen, with COVID, it's tough to get a restaurant. Okay, allocate time for schoolwork. Rule number 1 is 1 hour in class equals 2 hours outside of class. I don't know. Sometimes I believe that, sometimes I don't. I do think that you should definitely allocate time for each class. So, for example, if you have a chemistry class, maybe you say, okay, every Tuesday we have class, so every Thursday at 2 o'clock maybe I'm going to sit down for an hour because I know I have time then to review the week's chemistry work. Plan for time ahead to complete any major projects. Create a work back from project due date. Yeah, it's really important. Work backwards, right? So if you have a due date in 3 weeks, you're not going to try it all, do it all the night before. You're going to work ahead and make sure that you complete it in small chunks. And avoid overscheduling yourself. I have seen students hand in sample schedules that will blow your mind, right? They wake up at 6 a.m. and they are book solid from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. like every half an hour. That is probably too much. Creating timelines for group projects. Use the same work back method, meaning working backwards. Assign a student a name for each task and use project management template. Dealing with surprises and distractions that are inevitable, right? You could have the perfect schedule and say, okay, I'm going to follow this schedule, and after I follow the schedule, I'm going to be such an amazing student. I'm going to be in great shape. All my relationships will be good. But you have to know that distractions will pop up. And how do you deal with them, right? Do you drop your entire schedule and say, oh, I was going to study today, but my friend's car broke down and go pick him up, so now we need to go pick up my friend, then maybe we grab lunch, and oh, there's a movie you wanted to see, right? Like, you have to know that if there's going to be distractions and surprises, you have a plan to get back on course. Okay, so this is the work part. Now the work takes place. Once you have the schedule, you need to follow it. And don't spend all your time creating a nice schedule and creating a calendar and a weekly timeline and a checklist and not getting to the work, right? Getting to the work is the most important time. So take control of your time, avoid procrastination, and find some balance, right? Don't be the person who works for 12 hours a day on schoolwork, because then you just become a nerd, right? You don't want to be completely absorbed in schoolwork and not have any type of life outside of that. Take control of your environment, identify the controllable and uncontrollable problems that are getting in your way. Learn just to say no. This is very, very important. Respect others' times. Get away from it all, right? Like, work for a couple hours, then get away, come back. Make an appointment with yourself. We talked about the first class, time for yourself to recharge, to make sure that you're not going to burn out. That's very important. Enjoy the sounds of silence. Yes, maybe sit somewhere quiet for a while, go for a walk, and expect the unexpected. No matter how perfect your schedule is, there will be interruptions. There are days that you might not be able to follow it exactly. But if you follow it most of the time, you're doing pretty well. Distinguish between what is urgent and what is important. We talked about this. Proactivity, manage your notifications and messages. Yes. Don't start doing your studying and have your phone beside you and you read for 2 minutes and then you get a text or a social media alert and then you check, oh, I wonder what's going on over here. Then go back to your work, right? Consider blocking sites entirely, right? Just put your phone away, maybe turn off some notifications on your computer, and study without distractions, because sometimes, and this is a shocker, sometimes the material you are studying is not the most exciting. And if it isn't, then you are going to be very distractible, right? It's going to be very easy for you to be like, oh, learning about time management and calendars is exciting, but I wonder what my friend is doing over here on social media. It looks like she posted some very cute pictures of dogs, right? And before you know it, 45 minutes later, I'm looking at dog pictures. Work smarter, not harder. Accomplish each task in the most efficient way possible. Avoid multitasking. When you multitask, it takes you twice as long and you make twice as many errors. So don't do it. Stop it. Match the amount of time with effort you expend in the importance of the task. Yes, the 2% quiz. Don't spend 3 days studying for the 2% quiz, but you might spend 3 days working on the project that's worth 25% in your grade, right? Develop a consistent approach to tasks, do them regularly, and use electronic devices to help you manage your time and your life more efficiently. Procrastination. The habit of putting off tasks that need to be accomplished. What is the average daily media consumption, and how does it compare to the Canadian average? Oh, what is your average daily consumption? So if you look at the number of hours, you can see that people spend 4 hours a day between newspapers and magazines and the radio and their desktop and the mobile, right? Like, where are you on that scale? And make sure that you know how much time you are spending on social media. Most phones now have the app and the tracker that tells you how much time you're spending, and most phones at this point allow you to set a schedule. So my advice to you would be, maybe you spend 1 or 2 hours less a day on social media and 1 or 2 hours a day more on studying. And I'm saying you don't have to do this forever, but maybe you do it for the next 14 weeks. So then you can get to where you want to go, and the time you've spent here has been worthwhile and you haven't wasted it. Strategies that help procrastination. Break larger tasks into smaller ones, absolutely. Start with the simplest part of the task first and then do the harder parts. Just begin. Yeah, just get started. Work with others. They can keep you accountable, and keep the cost of procrastination in mind. Yes, when you procrastinate, you do things quickly and rushed and sloppy, and the task does not get the best of your ability. Balance competing responsibilities, school and work demands, and friends and family, and all sorts of things there, and balance school and work obligations with family demands. Yeah. If you have slack time on your job, get some studying done, use your lunch hour efficiently, ask your employer about flex time, and accept new responsibilities with caution. Dealing with childcare demands, provide activities for your children, make spending time with your children a priority, enlist your children's help, encourage your children to invite friends over to play, use screen time appropriately, find the best childcare babysitters that you can, and use your children's downtime effectively. Dealing with elder care demands. A lot of people, in addition to taking care of their kids, have to take care of their parents. So encourage them to be as independent as possible. Ask for support from your siblings, especially when you're in school, and determine what community resources might be out there and available. And of course, respect your own needs. So once we have done P-O-W-E, comes E. Yeah, we're on evaluate. Now let's move to evaluate. What have you accomplished? Did you check off all the items on your list? You may not finish your tasks every day, but as long as you finish the most important things, that is what is key. And give yourself a pat on the back for completing the things that you've accomplished. And it doesn't mean you get tomorrow off. It just means that you've done a great job and your list tomorrow might be shorter. And then we've made it all the way from P to R to rethink. So now that you've gone through all the steps, rethink is the final step. Reflect on your style of time management. Look back at the week and say, okay, what went well? What didn't go well? What can I tweak and adjust to make sure the next week is even better? Rethink how to manage your time by doing the following: reassessing your priorities, reconsidering your personal style of time management. Consider doing less. I know sometimes less is more, and use your free time well. Okay, I'm not going to jump into the going further. We've gone far enough. This is chapter 2. There's a lot in there. You'll be using some of this content for your first assignment, so make sure you know it well. If you have any questions about any of this material I covered today, please do not hesitate to reach out and ask. And good luck with managing your time.